Abina returned from the river, carrying a bundle of fresh reeds beneath her arm. The morning sun warmed her face as she followed the shoreline path home. For years, she had avoided even looking at the water. Now she found herself listening to its steady voice. Her mother noticed the damp sand clinging to Abina's sandals before a single word was spoken. "You went to the river," her mother said quietly. "Yes," Abina replied. Nothing more needed to be said. They simply shared a look and continued their work. From the veranda, Kwesi watched his daughter crossing the riverside path. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. The river that had once been the center of her anger no longer seemed to frighten her. Later that day, a fisherman stopped by the house, carrying fresh tilapia from a morning catch. "Fresh catch," she said. "Thank you." Abina answered as she accepted the basket. That evening, she sat beside her mother cleaning fish beneath a sky painted orange and gold by the setting sun. The familiar smell that had once filled her with resentment now felt ordinary, almost comforting. Across the village, Kwaka repaired fishing nets beside the shore. He noticed Abina walking nearby and paused for a moment. He thought about speaking to her, but decided against it. Some changes needed space to grow. Abina continued visiting the river. She listened to fishermen tell stories while they repaired ropes and nets. "The river changes every season," one elderly fisherman said. "People do too." The word stayed with her. Another day, the old fisherman spoke about young men who had left the village long ago. Many went searching for work, he said. Some never returned. That night, Abina found herself thinking about Kojo differently. Perhaps he had not vanished. Perhaps he had simply followed a road she could not see. Unable to sleep, she opened an old wooden chest that had belonged to her brother. Inside were a carved wooden bird, a worn sling, and several small treasures from childhood. Each object carried memories she had almost forgotten. Outside, rain began falling softly over the village. At the bottom of the chest, she discovered an old map. Several nearby trading towns had been marked with charcoal circles. Abina studied the map carefully. "What were you planning?" she whispered. Her finger traced the routes connecting village after village. For the first time, she wondered whether Kojo had traveled one of them. The next morning, she visited Auntie Efua. "Can I ask you something?" Abina said, "Of course. Do you remember anything from the day Kojo left?" Auntie Efua paused and thought for a long moment. "I remember merchants visiting around that time," she finally said. "Your brother spoke with them often." The clue was small, but it felt important. Back at home, Abina shared the memory with her mother while helping prepare breakfast. "Auntie remembers merchants," she said. "That could mean something," her mother replied. Hope entered the room carefully, as though afraid of being chased away. Kwesi listened silently from across the table. He said little, but for the first time in years, Abina noticed something other than guilt in his eyes. There was hope there too. Days later, she began spending more time at the riverside market. Traders arrived from distant villages carrying baskets, cloth, spices, and stories. Whenever she met someone new, she asked the same question: "Have you heard of a man named Kojo?" Most shook their heads. Others apologized politely. Still, she continued asking. One afternoon, an older trader hesitated after hearing the name. "Kojo," he repeated. "That sounds familiar." Abina leaned forward immediately. The trader searched his memory. "Perhaps years ago," he said. "I am not certain." It was not much, but it was enough to keep her searching. Nearby, Kwaka watched her determination with admiration. "You're still looking for him," he said one day. "Yes, I'll ask in the villages upriver." Abina smiled. "Thank you." Weeks passed. The river slowly became part of her daily life, instead of something to fear. Fishermen greeted her each morning. Children called her name as they played along the shore. One busy afternoon, she even helped untangle a damaged fishing net. "Can you hold this?" a fisherman asked. "Of course." The villagers noticed a change. "She's changed," one woman remarked. "For the better," another replied. As the days grew longer, Abina found herself spending more evenings on the veranda with her father. Their conversations were simple. "The weather looks clear tomorrow," Kwesi would say. "It does." The market was busy today. Very busy. Nothing important was discussed. Yet everything important seemed to be happening. The silence between them no longer felt heavy. One evening, Abina stood beside the river as the sun disappeared beyond the horizon. Golden light shimmered across the water, while reeds swayed gently in the breeze. She thought about Kojo. She thought about the years she had spent blaming the river. She thought about her father and the burden he had carried alone. The answer she wanted had not arrived. She still did not know where her brother was. Perhaps she never would. But as she watched the water flowing steadily toward distant places, she realized something had changed. For the first time in many years, she was no longer trapped inside the past. She was finally moving forward.